Hello, this is Dr. Stephanie, the founder of Your Healing Place, moving you from panic to empowerment in every aspect of your life. As you know, you might notice that my energy is a little lower than it usually is, and that's because the topic of today is it's important, and sometimes you have to bring it down a notch to really connect. So I'm outside because I love the energy of the sun. I made sure that I had on bright colors so the topic wouldn't pull me down, and I'd have a balance between what I'm speaking and what the energy that I'm pulling in from the environment. That is all a part of wellness. And the topic that I want to talk about today is, why does Black Lives Matter? We see it all the time. Every morning, around 7ish, I go walking around my neighborhood and I see all these signs that say Black Lives Matter. All of a sudden, this is a thing. And I wonder why it matters so much and why should it matter. So here's the question: why does Black Lives Matter? The answer is very simple, but for years we have not been able to, or people of color have not been able to express ourselves in a way contrary to the step and fetch it or always smiling and always giggling. And that's why I'm gonna try not to do that today, because that's the default that we have as people of color. We're always smiling and projecting that something is different than what we're actually feeling. So why do Black Lives Matter? Well, if you remember from your childhood, you were taught children are to be seen and not heard. Speak when you're spoken to. You can think it, but you better not say it. You've heard, do as I say, not as I do. And you might have even heard, oh, you're overreacting. Oh, you're too serious. Or you didn't see it the way you thought you saw it. You know, you grew up with all that stuff. And then what happens is, over time, you start to not trust yourself as an energetic, spiritual being that has a beacon of knowing about what's good and what's right for you. Over time, not only do you not recognize it, but you don't trust it. And you might find yourself saying, maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe I should just think it and not say it. And maybe I should just not be so sensitive or overly connected to things that I hear and see and not speak about it. And so over time, as a people, we have learned to be disconnected from our emotional selves. And we connect instead to our mental selves. Now, the problem with that model is, what's in your head is not you. What's in your head is what your grandmama said, what your daddy said, what your mama said, what Oprah said, what Dr. Phil said, what Boo Boo's cousins down the street's girlfriend said about sea moss and vitamin C, and we'll get into all that in a minute. But the problem with that is, there's no discernment from you to detect whether what's in here is actually right and valid for you. So you don't listen to your spiritual self, you're all in your head. So when things happen, you negate your ability to decipher it, pull it apart, and determine if it's good for you, if it's not for you. So in this Black Lives Matter movement, what you're seeing now are people recognizing and harnessing the impact of their own emotional selves, independent of what was going on in their head. And so the quick answer to why Black Lives Matter is because you matter. Plain and simple. And when I mean you, I mean your feelings matter. How you process an experience that happens to you matter. Your feelings are very valid, and for the first time in a long time, you were given the platform to express yourself and to be good with how you feel. That's why Black Lives Matter, because now you can say it while you're processing it. When your body goes into a challenge, let's say it shows up as a circulatory problem, or it shows up as a gastrointestinal problem, or it shows up as, heart disease, diabetes, just pick one. If it shows up with a name, what your body's telling you is there's a disconnection between your knowing self and your mental self. Now, your mental self can get all tricked up. It really can. Because if you don't have a sense of understanding that you can trust your knowing, then you're going to go up in your head and your conscious mind is going to search through all the things that you ever thought you understood, and you're going to rationalize what's in your heart. So I'm here to challenge you. Stop doing that. Don't rationalize what's in your heart, because our Creator is there, and the all-knowing side of who you are resides in your heart, not in your head. If you know anything about Scripture, you know that Scripture says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, and out of the heart the mouth speaks. So when you understand that there is a very distinct part of who you are, you're a spirit, you're a mind, and a body, you can connect the pieces, and you can be connected enough to those components that you can start discerning. There's another scriptural word. You can start discerning what's best for you, because you will be able to harness and feel from a spiritual perspective and go, that's not right. So Black Lives Matter because you're waking up and you're recognizing that what I see on the news about brutality isn't right. And I don't feel good about that. And that affects me. You can also say, you know what? I remember that I wasn't able to get that mortgage. And I know that it had something to do with the color of my skin. And I don't like the way that feels. You can also say to yourself, you know what? I live in this neighborhood and I don't feel welcome because a lot of people don't look like me. So that makes me feel uncomfortable because I see weird packages on my porch or weird phenomenon in my mailbox, which are things that I have experienced. So connecting with who you are has everything to do with, number one, acknowledging the beauty in your uniqueness. To the degree that you can acknowledge the uniqueness and the beauty of the color of your skin, that should not have an impact on how you have been embraced in society. But since it does, let's just call it what it is. Us as people of color not feeling comfortable to be comfortable in our own skin. So the reason why Black Lives Matter now, because more than ever before, you can be comfortable in your own skin. And you don't have to apologize for it anymore. You don't have to assimilate. You are, just by definition of how you created, intelligent, resourceful, kind, responsible. Yeah, we're some responsible people. Resourceful. Can you say resourceful? There's so many aspects of who we are that creates this dynamic of pulling ourselves up from an emotional place, overstepping what used to be. Black Lives Matter because you matter, and you matter because now you have an opportunity more than ever before to connect with your spiritual self that tells you that your emotions are valid. Your sense of injustice and how you feel about it is invalid. You can express yourself in a way that is demonstrative, transformative, and healing, not just for you, but for the next person who had no clue that we even had to sound the horn that we matter. So you matter. And in order to be well, spirit, mind, and body, to be on this wellness journey, my challenge to you is to start allowing yourself to have those emotional experiences, process them so they won't fester. Because you know what? Here's an interesting dynamic. People will tell you all the time, well, hypertension runs in the black family. Well, I guess it does. Because if we're always afraid of something, right? Your adrenal gland is going to kick in. When your adrenal gland kicks in, it pumps out salt, and it also pumps out water to create homeostasis, so that increased fluid against your blood vessels is going to cause hypertension. So if all of us are always afraid about looking over our shoulder or what's going to happen, rest assured that it's going to be a cultural phenomenon, but it's also not genetic. It's environmental and social, right? So think about that for a second. We are hypertensive not because we eat bad food all the time. We're hypertensive because we're always on hyper alert, high vigilant, that the body only knows how to respond in the fight or flight stance, and that fight or flight creates physiological challenges that other people call a disease. Actually, it's our disconnection between what we believe to be correct in our hearts, not connecting with our head, and our body saying, hey, there's a problem, you need to deal with it. But we're not taught to deal with it. We're taught to cover it up or just accept it. So one of the things that I like to share with my clients all the time is, whenever you get a diagnosis, never accept the fact that it is genetic. It is environmental and cultural. And when you do that, you take ownership of the responsibility to find the solution to create a change and a shift in your health. That's called transformation. That's also called empowerment. So, this is Dr. Stephanie. I'm signing off. Our wonderful mailman is here. And that's why Black Lives Matter. So if you're interested in being well, please connect with me through likes, subscribe and share. Hit the little bell. You hear the little bell and the chimes on the porch. But to close out again, I want you to understand that Black Lives Matter because you matter. And the part of you that matters is the part of you that's been negated and squashed. And that's the part of you that resides in your heart, that all-knowing, that gives you discernment to know right from wrong. And when you feel something is wrong, it is. And you have the duty and responsibility not only to your community, but to yourself to, number one, acknowledge it and then connect with a solution for your recovery. And that is the best way to deal with your health, even with the concept of why Black Lives Matter. So if you are not connected with other people that give you a sense of community, then that will be the first step for you to connect with people that bring you life, bring you joy, add energy and growth to your spirit, mind, and body. Until next time, have a fantastic day. This is Dr. Steph. Take care.